Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Sir Cardinal, and the round one of the NHL playoffs is now complete. The round of 16 has now shrunk to the round of 8. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The second round all starts tomorrow. Let's get right into it. I'm going to talk about the Eastern Conference, then I'll talk about the Western Conference. So let's start. Tomorrow, the Pittsburgh Penguins travel to Washington to take on the Washington Capitals. Here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. These two teams always seem to be playing in the playoffs against each other, with the Capitals losing every single time these two teams match up. And I see no different. I think Washington is vulnerable, even though they beat Columbus in 6 games, but they lost their first 2 home games against them. This makes me believe that Pittsburgh is going to steal at least one of these 2 games in Washington. I do believe Pittsburgh has a lot more scoring power than the Washington Capitals. Capitals are offensive as well, but it just seems like the Pittsburgh Penguins gel right at the right time, and I believe they're going to continue this trend. Sidney Crosby, Phil Kessel, Patrick Hornquist, Evgeny Malkin, and you have players like Jake Guentzel, for example, almost the MVP of the Conn Smythe Trophy last year for the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was my pick to win last year. Look what he did in Game 6 against the Flyers. Scored 4 straight goals to clinch the series. That's another underdog that always thrives during the playoffs. The back end of both teams, a little bit different. You have Chris Letang for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You have Justin Schultz, not too bad on the back end for Pittsburgh Penguins. On the Washington Capitals, you have Matt Niskanen, Brooks Orpik, who was a former Pittsburgh Penguin. Good shutdown defenders, but I don't think they're going to shut them down. Honestly, it's going to be about goaltending. And look, Matt Murray, 2 Stanley Cups. Braden Holtby, great regular season goaltender. Come playoff time, not the same guy. I have a strong feeling that Pittsburgh is going to win this series in 6 games. So there you have it. Pittsburgh will go to the Eastern Conference Final. Next up, you have the Boston Bruins taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I love this series. This series is going to be pretty interesting. The only bad thing about this, Tampa's had a few days off, which is great. You rest your bodies, everyone's relaxed and getting ready. But I'd rather be in the Boston Bruins position right now. And I think it's going to affect Game 1. I think Boston might win Game 1 just because they played so close together. They finished their series last night. They have 2 days off. Then they're right back into game mode. I like that chance for Boston to win Game 1. However, I do believe Tampa Bay is going to win this series in 6 games or possibly 7. I just think that the Tampa Bay Lightning have a little bit more offensive flair. Not to discredit the Boston Bruins offense. They have some great players on Boston. They showed it against the Maple Leafs. David Pastrnak, Brad Marchand. That's just to name a couple. You have Patrice Bergeron, Jake DeBrusk. The list goes on. But with Tampa, you have a lot of role players on that team. You have 2 superstars, and you have a lot of role players that play the game very well. And I think Tampa has a little bit more better depth than the Boston Bruins do currently. The defense, I think Tampa is younger. Boston's a little bit older. But I feel that the old against the youth, it's going to be a little bit of a tale. I think Tampa's offense will get by the defenders. Not to say Chara is going to shut them down. Chara is a beast. He's always going to be a beast. You have Charlie McAvoy, he's a young up-and-comer. Torrey Krug. I like what they bring, but I just feel that Tampa has a little bit more better coaching for the defense. John Cooper is an amazing coach. You have Sergachev, you have Victor Hedman, Dan Girardi. That's the only 3 guys I really know offhand right at this present time. But I just feel like these guys are going to shut down Boston's forwards a little bit better. It all comes down to coaching, and I think Cooper is a little bit better coach than what the Boston Bruins have currently this season. The goaltending is going to be great in this series. You have a Vezina candidate in Andrei Vasilevsky this year, and you have Tuukka Rask. You got 2 legit number 1 goaltenders going head-to-head, and I feel that Tuukka Rask has a little bit more experience come playoff time. That could serve him well, but I just feel that the Tampa Bay Lightning are a little bit more polished than the Boston Bruins. It's going to be a great series, I think, though. But unfortunately, I do think the Tampa Bay Lightning will be taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Eastern Conference Final. Let's talk about the Western Conference. 2 teams, 2 sweeps, meet in round 2. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You have the San Jose Sharks taking on the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Wow. Las Vegas Golden Knights win their first round against the Los Angeles Kings. You have the San Jose Sharks defeating the Anaheim Mighty Ducks 4-0. This series is a little bit interesting. This is going to be a hard one to predict, but since Vegas is the higher seed and they get more home games than the San Jose Sharks, I do believe that the San Jose Sharks are going to be going golfing. I just feel, just by watching the Vegas Golden Knights, when they're down, they're relentless on the puck. The pressure that they put on other teams' defense, can't make a pass past center. It just seems like Vegas is always on the attack. And watching them against the Los Angeles Kings, especially in Game 4, once they got that lead, they never took their foot off the gas. That's right. Like, these guys were phenomenal to watch. I loved watching them play. I loved watching the Vegas Golden Knights crowd. I love San Jose's crowd, mind you. I just feel that there's a veteran team on the San Jose Sharks which has great leadership all around. All around, that team is all veterans. Who knows if Joe Thornton will play in round 2? But then you got the Vegas Golden Knights, a team of castaways, all gelling all season long, looking outstanding in the playoffs. Comes down to goaltending. You have Martin Jones, who went to the Stanley Cup 2 years ago. Then you have a 3-time Stanley Cup champion in Marc-Andre Fleury. Who could have asked for a better story? Marc-Andre Fleury has been phenomenal this year. I have enjoyed watching him play. He has looked phenomenal. This series is going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be as sweet. I do believe, though, that this series could go 5 or 6 games. And I am picking the Vegas Golden Knights to go to the Western Conference Final. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we have a matchup that should be a Western Conference Final. You have the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Nashville Predators. These two teams are very similar. Their crowds are amazing. I suggest you watch this series and watch the crowds. The Winnipeg crowd is by far probably top 3 in the whole NHL. And you have the Nashville Predators, who last year were Cinderellas, and their crowd was the best. This series is going to be entertaining. You have the Winnipeg Jets, who dismantled the Minnesota Wild in 5 games and looked never better. Their depth, their scoring, their goaltending, their defense, top notch. Meanwhile, Nashville went to 6 games against the Colorado Avalanche, who I felt did not get a good start in their playoff series. I felt that Nashville could have swept that series against the Colorado Avalanche, but they took them a little bit for granted. Mind you, I think they're going to wake up this series, because this series is going to go 7 games. This series has a lot of talent on both teams. Nashville has a lot of scoring power, but their defense is by far the best in the NHL. PK Subban, Ryan Ellis, Roman Josi, Matthias Ekholm, and backstopping them, you have Pekka Rinne, who's a candidate for the Vezina almost every single year. I think if you get him hot, the Nashville Predators advance. But then you have Connor Hellebuck, who, mind you, was injured during practice today. He seems to be okay, but that was a sight to see today. Is he okay? Could that play into the series? Time will tell. You also had Patrick Laney for the Winnipeg Jets, who missed practice today. He might be nursing something, but that series starts on Friday. It's going to be a hell of a series. I'm really looking forward to watching this one. I think, unfortunately, for the Winnipeg Jets, I think home ice plays a huge key. And if it goes to Game 7, it's coming back to Nashville. So I'm picking Nashville to win in 7 games. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the second round matchup. So you have the Pittsburgh Penguins will be taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Eastern Conference. We'll discuss that next round, if that happens. And then you have the Winnipeg Jets and Nashville Predators taking on each other. You have Nashville winning that series. And I also took the Vegas Golden Knights, which leads to the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Nashville Predators in the Western Conference Final. We'll talk more soon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You guys have a great night. Talk to you guys soon.